Hi everyone, it's Celeste Kelly with iShine. Happy New Year. I'm so happy to be here with you. Today I'm going to talk about how to have more authentic conversations with your children. I think as parents, most of us really want and need to communicate authentically with our children. And this can be a challenge sometimes when we are feeling rushed, or if we're tired and cranky, or if our kids are tired and cranky. And there's a lot going on in the world today, coming at us from all angles. So to be able to communicate clearly and with empathy and from our hearts with our children is more important than ever. So I'm going to share with you 3 tips to help you really have more authentic conversations with your children. So the first tip is, number 1, is to be present. Okay? And I know we've all heard that, being in the now, being present. What does that really mean as it relates to conversations? What that means is that most of the time, or much of the time, let's say this, much of the time, we are multitasking and we don't even realize we're doing it because we're so used to it. We're texting, we're cooking dinner, we're listening to a podcast, we're asking our kids to do X, Y, Z, and our kids are doing the same thing. They may be playing a video game or doing homework or running in and out of the yard and coming into the house and grabbing things and going back out. We're in a constant flux of action and activity and doing. And so what happens is that oftentimes when we go to have conversations, there are miscommunications because we're not being fully present and our children are not being fully present with us. So the first tip about being present is to slow it down, okay? If you can. And this takes practice. When you need to engage with your child in a conversation, it may be just a quick yes-no thing. That's not really what I'm talking about. I'm talking about something that takes a little bit more time, a little more effort, a little more presence. So if you have something to discuss with your child, or your child has something to discuss with you, it's taking a moment to slow it down and tune in and really listen to them and see if it's something that is a 1 or 2 minute conversation, that if you just stop what you're doing and you're present with them, that you can figure it out and have that conversation meaningfully in a minute or 2. Or is it something that's going to take a little bit more time than that even? Or is it something that really is going to require you to set aside some time, a chunk of time, for, to go into a deeper discussion and be able to be there for them in the way that they need. It's like assessing. You're kind of assessing. And, what does this conversation require of my time and energy? So that you can efficiently figure out the best way to support your child. And what happens is, as you have this, as you learn to be present and figure this out, it also teaches your child how to do the same thing, how to be present for you. And you learn the languaging to sort of help each other know when you need to slow it down and be present. So that's the first tip, is be present. Slow it down, put your cell phone down, stop with dinner for just a minute. If you're rushing out the door in the moment, the truth is, a lot of times we can take 30 seconds to slow it down and listen to what our child has to say, or to have our child slow down and listen to what we have to say. And that can really prevent a lot of triggers and miscommunications and things that escalate if we slow it down to be present. Okay. The second thing is to hit the reset button if you need to. Okay, as much as we can practice this being present, the truth is we're all really busy and there's a lot of things going on. So it takes a while to sort of change these patterns of communication where we can get triggered, or there are misunderstandings, or we find words or tones getting elevated and stressful, or frustration happening. Sometimes when you find yourself feeling angry or frustrated, or you see your child getting worked up, that's a key to slow down for a minute, take a couple of breaths, and say to your child, whoa, can we stop for a minute? Can we start this again? You put your phone away. I'm going to stop cooking. Let's just sit down for a minute, or let's stand here for a minute and have this conversation. Okay, it's really just letting go of the distractions. It's a redo, right? We don't want to get amped up. We want to stop ourselves. If we feel ourselves or see our child getting amped up in the conversation, it's a taking a breath, slowing it down, reset. Be fully present in the conversation. So you can decide, is this something we can talk about now and get this taken care of, or is it something we want to table for a little bit until we have a little more time later to sit down and both be available to hear each other and support each other. Okay. And then the third thing is, when you do engage in conversation with your child or your children, is to engage all of your senses, right? And this requires you being present. Much of the time, we are in our mental minds. Okay, so we're listening with our mind, but we're not listening with the rest of our senses. So when your child is talking, use your intuition. What's your gut telling you? What is your heart telling you? What are you noticing about their body language? Are their arms crossed? Are they sort of in a defensive mode? Are they, biting their nails? Are they anxious and nervous? Are they expansive and they're joyful? What's really going on? Go beyond the words, because sometimes, this, we've seen it. Kids will say, "I'm fine. It was no big deal. What happened at school today? I'm fine." But you know that they're not. So if you've slowed it down and you're present for a moment, you can really tune in more to what your child is experiencing, and notice in your own body what you're feeling too. Do you feel expansive? Oh, I really am getting that they're in their joy, or boy, I'm tightening up in my tummy. I'm feeling, I'm having compassion and empathy. I think my daughter or my son is really feeling nervous or anxious about this test tomorrow. So paying attention to your senses, using all your senses to engage, helps you read your child better and know, again, how to connect with them more, how to support them, okay, rather than just listening to their words and taking it at face value, okay, which if we're multitasking, it's easier to miss those cues. So if we're being present, and we've hit the reset button. If we weren't present, we've come back to being present, right? And we're using our intuition, we're using all of our senses to really listen to our child, then that helps us engage with them on a much deeper level. Our hearts are connected then, we are having empathy for them, and we're really listening with our whole bodies. And that's it for the first 3 tips. So that will help you a lot. And it seems basic. However, it takes practice to really do that and to do that consistently. And what you'll find is that the more you do it, the easier it becomes. And that you're modeling that for your children to really value communication and value what they're saying and listening, being a good listener. And it helps them learn how to do that themselves in a conversation. And the other thing is that because it's a practice, there's going to be times that you don't do it well. I mean, this happens to all of us. And so the key is to be honest and authentic with your kids when you don't do a good job in a conversation or you wish you had handled it better, and to just say to them, say you were going out to drop them to school in the morning and you were rushing for work and they were rushing and they didn't have their act together, and you thought you had it planned out the night before that they had everything ready, but they didn't have their clothes ready, they didn't have their lunch ready, and everything was coming unraveled, and you just got triggered. And apologize to them. Just say, you know what, I'm sorry, I got triggered this morning. I thought we had this all together last night, I thought you had all your stuff together and we'd have a smooth morning, and it threw me for a loop, and I choose to do this better next time. Here's what I think I could do to help prevent this from happening again. And what do you think you could do? Or do you have any ideas about how we could do this better next time? And so do you see how it involves them in the process? It's empowering to them and it's empowering to you because you're co-creating, right? You're working towards having better communication. You're doing that together and you're being authentic about it. And really you're connecting from your heart. That's the other thing, is that this really all boils down to connecting from your heart, right? So you're being present, you're resetting if you need to, you're engaging all of your senses, and you're connecting from your heart. So I hope that you found these tips helpful. And in the next video, I'm going to talk about how to be a clear communicator with your child. And if you are interested in getting more information about how to upgrade your communications with your child, if you want to go deeper with that, if you'd like to have some more support with that, I'd love to help you and support you with some coaching. So we've provided a link for that below. And that's it. Thanks. And I'll see you on the next video.